The controller is where you define the data, series, and configuration for each chart. This requires the following steps. Retrieve the data. This step includes retrieving the appropriate data from the web server and adding any computed fields, such as the calculated margin amount and percentage. Filter the data. In many cases, all of the data cannot be displayed on the chart. The chart may be limited by an amount, such as the top 10 products, or by dates, such as the products ordered this month. Format the data for the chart. The chart requires that the data be provided in a very specific format, so some data manipulation is required. Define the variable for the chart's AC data directive, which includes both the series information and the actual chart data. And finally, configure the chart using the variable assigned to the chart's AC config directive. If you have the option, you may want to consider calculating the computed fields, filtering the data, and potentially even formatting that data in the web service on the back-end web server. That would minimize the amount of data retrieved from the server and the amount of processing required on the client. But we are going to perform all of these operations on the client in the sample application. Let's add the code for each of these steps to the controller one by one. We'll do the first two in this clip and the last three in the next clip. Here we are back in WebStorm. Let's create a new JavaScript file for the Price Analytics controller. We can navigate to App, Prices, right-click New JavaScript File, and we'll call it Price Analytics Controller. So we don't forget, let's add the script tag for this new JavaScript file to index.html now. Since this is a price controller, we'll give it a separate comment. Going back to the controller, we'll use the same pattern we have been using for controllers. It begins with the immediately invoked function expression, or IFE, and it includes use strict. We'll start by looking up the module. Since this is a part of our main application, we will register it with the product management module. Then we can register the controller. The first parameter to the registration is the controller name. We're going to call it Price Analytics Controller. The second parameter of the controller method is a min-safe array. The array contains each parameter injected into the controller function. The charting directives don't seem to work well with the controller as syntax, so we'll use the classic controller syntax and explicitly inject $scope. We'll also want to inject products as defined in the resolve block of the navigation state configuration. Let's look at that again. Here is our navigation state. We have a resolve, and the resolve is actually retrieving our products using productResource.query. We can then inject products into the Price Analytics controller. So we'll go back to the controller, and we can inject products. The last element of the array is the reference to the controller function. We can then define the controller function itself. And we're passing in $scope and products. The first line of code in this controller sets the title of the page, and we'll call it Price Analytics. The data for the first chart includes the cost, price, and margin amount. Cost and price are properties provided in the JSON for each product. Margin amount is a calculated property and is not provided in the JSON. The data for the second chart includes the margin percentage. The margin percentage is also a calculated property and is not provided in the JSON. So the next set of code in the controller must calculate the margin amount and margin percentage. To perform those calculations, we'll want to call the product service we created in the last module. To use the product service, we need to inject it into the controller. So we'll inject it here. and we need to add it to the min-safe array. Now that we have the product service injected in, we can loop through the list of products and calculate the margin amount and margin percentage for each product. So this code calculates the margin percent using the price and the cost, and this code calculates the margin amount, also using the price and the cost. Now the margin percent and margin amount are defined on the model for each product. The next step is to filter the data. Let's do the filtering for the first chart first. The fictitious requirements identified that the top 5 products should appear in the chart. So we need to do 3 things here. First, we need to inject $filter into the controller function. $filter is a built-in Angular service for filtering data. We'll use this service to order and limit our list of products. So we'll add $filter here and in the min-safe array. Then we can use $filter to order the products by margin amount. So we use the order by filter, take our list of products, and order it by the margin amount. Then we want to limit the display to 5 products. Note that we could pick any number here, we just picked 5. So we use $filter again, use the limit to filter, take our ordered products amount, and limit it to 5 products. The code to filter the data for the second chart is similar. We use the order by filter to order by the margin percent, and then use the limit to limit it to 5 products. The next step is to format the data for the chart and define the chart variables.